Welcome to the Skull King Football Podcast, presented by Fox DFS Firelines. Now, here are your hosts, Justin and Ryan Skullroot.
Hey, Skull King Nation. Welcome back to the Skull King Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Ryan Skullroot, and I'm really excited about today's episode. We are doing another interview. And in this interview today, we are talking with Bob Kesling, the voice of the Tennessee Volunteers football program, as we talk about Alvin Kamara, the running back who really lit up the stats in the combine this year with a lot of his fast twitch stats. He had the top vertical for running backs. He wasn't necessarily a burner, but his vertical, a lot of his fast twitch and all of that sort of stuff, his broad jump, really some phenomenal stats. Had a pretty good season this last year. And so, yeah, we're gonna get into what Alvin Kamara is like, and what we could possibly see from him in the NFL. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Bob Kesling, voice of Tennessee Volunteers. All right, Skull King Nation, it's time for another Inside Analysis interview. This time today, I'm very happy to introduce to you Mr. Bob Kesling, voice of the Tennessee Volunteers. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you, Ryan. Good to talk to you.
All right, so today the prospect that we want to talk about is Alvin Kamara, the running back out of Tennessee, who really lit up the combine with his athletic explosiveness. Go ahead, if you could, Bob, just kind of give us a kind of a summary of his season this year.
Well, I thought he had a very solid year. In fact, he had a couple of spectacular games. Alvin is a guy who came in here from Alabama. Then he went to junior college and came in the year before last. And everybody's kind of curious about how he's going to fit in. What went wrong in Alabama and all those type things. And he blended in very nicely. He was a complimentary back to Jalen Hurd and caught the ball out of the backfield. Jalen Hurd helped him a lot in picking up blitzes. That's what got him on the field quicker. He kind of really enjoyed the blocking aspect of it. So then when he came into last year, he just became a complete back. Caught the ball out of the backfield. He's very elusive. He could return kicks. He could run between the tackles. He could do pretty much anything you need him to do as a playmaker. So he had a very solid season. And if you go back and look at his stats from the Texas A&M game when Jalen Hurd was out and he was the featured back, I'm not sure there are many running backs that had a better game total than Alvin Kamara did against Texas A&M. So I think he's a really good football player that could really help some NFL team a lot in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, just quickly, the stats from that Texas A&M game was 18 carries for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 8 receptions for another 161 yards receiving and a touchdown. I mean, you talk about an absolutely explosive game. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and I think he returned a punt or two also, so he was over 300 yards in total offense. All right.
So just kind of get into kind of his style of play. He's not going to be an absolute burner, and those kind of guys are very rare at the running back position. But again, he's got a bit of quickness. He ran a 4.56 40 at the combine. But what really jumps off the screen is he had the best vertical of all of the running backs. He had the best broad jump. I mean, it shows that though he may not be able to just take off and burn you, though he has that kind of elusive speed, he has the explosiveness to start quick, which is really going to help him out in the NFL.
Well, and what he has even more than that, I think, is he has the ability to make the first guy miss. And when you get him out in space, he's very hard to tackle. He's got great feet. I can't remember more than maybe a couple of times that one guy brought him down in the open field. So if you swing the ball out to him on a pass, and you get him one-on-one with a linebacker or a cornerback, he's going to be able to juke him and get past that first guy. And the other ability he has that he doesn't get enough credit for is his ability to run between the tackles. And again, as you mentioned, he's not the biggest guy you've seen, and he wouldn't look like he'd be a guy that'd be that durable, but he runs low. His pad leverage is very good, and he'll pick you up 2, 3, 4 yards right up the middle. So I think he's a guy that can do that, and you can also get him on a toss sweep or reverse. He can throw the ball. So there's not a lot of things that Alvin Kamara can't do, and he does a lot of them pretty well.
Yeah, like you said, he's not necessarily overpowering, but he's very compact. He stays very compact to be able to, push through to get those, maybe to get that extra yard up the middle as he's running. Again, the thing that another thing that really jumps off just watching his game tape is his, you talked about his explosiveness and his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. His hands out of the backfield are really, really phenomenal. He has a great sense of awareness of where to get open, to swing out, to catch the pass, and then, like you said, the ability to make the first man miss, especially those linebackers.
Yeah, he's very athletic, and he's got good hands. And again, I mentioned this earlier. The other thing that he really worked on and took a lot of pride in was his ability to pick up blitzing linebackers and in pass coverage. He understood it. He understood how important it was to keep guys off Josh Dobbs last year, and he embraced it. In fact, he and Jalen Hurd kind of had a competition. I mean, who could stick a linebacker, harder than the other guy did? And you don't see many running backs that really embrace that and want to do that. But Alvin does, and I think he understands too that if you're going to get on the field these days, you got to be able to protect your quarterback, and Alvin understands that and stuck his nose in there pretty good. So, and he'll also play special teams. He'll return kicks, but I mean he'll also get down and cover kicks too. So I think you get a lot for your money if you take Alvin Kamara in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at his overall stats for the year, like you said, he was splitting time with Jalen Hurd. 103 attempts rushing, 596 yards. He had 9 touchdowns on the ground. Then he had another 40 receptions, 392 yards receiving, with another 4 TDs there. And then on top of that, he returned 19 punts and was averaging almost 10 yards a return on punt returns as well. So he really is I guess you could say like a complete package. I guess one person that you could somewhat compare just in his skill set would be someone like a Christian McCaffrey. While he may not have gotten the notoriety that McCaffrey did in terms of the skill set and what he does, rushing, receiving, returning, he really is an all-around player.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good comparison. And the one thing is, Alvin loves it. I mean, he loves to play football, and he loves being out there. He loves the challenge. He loves the fact that maybe you don't think he's big enough or fast enough or strong enough. He loves to prove you wrong. And I think the other thing that people need to take into account too, he was only a junior last year, and yet he was voted a team captain, and he was voted the captain during spring practice last year. And so you think when he comes in from Alabama and the junior college, well, this guy must have baggage and he must have this and that, and you get all these preconceived notions about the guy. But his teammates loved him. I mean, they loved being around him. They loved his attitude. They loved how he attacked practice. And for him to be voted a team captain as a junior, I think says pretty much all you need to know about what his teammates felt about him and the contribution he made to this football team.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of the interviews that they've put up about him on YouTube and stuff, and just he seems very, very. From what I've seen on just in some of those interviews, very, very humble, a good head on his shoulders, very well spoken, and confident in himself to be able to, like you said, he's not the biggest guy, and if someone thinks that he can't do something, he has that grit and that tenacity to go after it and prove people wrong.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that he's also willing to do anything you need him to do. And a lot of times, there's a lot of players that won't do that. They want to do this or that, but you'd say, Alvin, go out and catch passes as a wide receiver. Okay, I'll do that. Run between the tackles. Okay, return punts, return kickoffs. Okay, whatever you want. He wouldn't come off the field. I mean, he could probably go out there and play in the secondary if you need him to. And he'd probably tell you that he's better than the guy you got out there right now. So he's just he wasn't anything like we thought he was going to be. I mean, we thought that this guy's coming in and he's probably got an attitude problem and there's got to be something wrong. There's got to be a flaw in this guy that Alabama would give up on him or would encourage him not to go there. But when he came in, he was a delight from the day he came on the field. I don't think there was one problem with him with any of the coaches, and in fact, most of the time they were laughing around him because he was really a funny guy. I mean, he had an infectious personality and just and I think a lot of the guys fed off him, and he challenged other guys in practice. You know, you need to do this better and you need to do that, and that's one of the reasons he was named captain. So. He was a pleasant surprise in terms of his productivity, how he blended in, how he affected his teammates, and the contributions he made to Tennessee football in the 2 years he was here.
Yeah, I think, just watching kind of how he's really risen up the charts in some of the draft profiles and everything. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where he ends up. Who decides to take him in the draft, whether it's in round 1 or round 2. I think the last time I saw on CBS, they have him ranked as like the number 4 running back in the draft. Again, with how much he can do, I think and like you said, he doesn't want to come off the field. Another guy that I've heard about that in this draft class is actually on the defensive side. Jabril Peppers is a guy that could play the linebacker, could play a one-on-one corner that would his job was one guy to go after, was one guy to cover. If they asked him to go on the offense, he'd go and he'd line up as a receiver or take a carry as a running back. So I think that, again, the willingness to be on the field and do whatever it takes to get on the field, especially as a rookie going into teams where you may need to make your mark as a cover guy on special teams, and I think that's only going to make it that much easier for a team to be willing to want to have Kamara or to have Alvin on their team. And so, again, I'm really excited to see where he's going to end up.
Well, as you know, now teams are looking for guys because they're looking for roster spots, and they want to see guys that can do more than one thing. If you can return punts and be a third down specialist on offense, that makes you pretty attractive. And if you can be a regular back filling a receiver or slot guy, that makes you more attractive. So there are a lot of things that Alvin can do, and I think that's one of the reasons that he's kind of climbing up a lot of these draft polls now, because of the fact they're seeing the versatility. And I've got to think that scouts that see him just have to love him, and for the way he approaches things, the way he approaches the workouts, and so I think whoever gets him is going to be very pleased, and it's probably maybe will be one of the steals in the whole draft.
Awesome. All right. Again, I want to thank you, Bob Kesling, the voice of Tennessee Volunteers football, for coming on to the show with us and giving us just a little bit of your insight on Alvin Kamara. I'm looking forward to, possibly next year, if there's, if we've got a couple more guys that are going to be coming into the draft, to maybe do a little bit of scouting on them and hear from you again.
That'd be great. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
All right. Thank you. Hey, Skull King Nation, thank you for listening to the Skull King Football Podcast. Did you like this episode? If so, be sure to go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube to subscribe. Also, please leave us a rating and reviews to let us know how we can better help you rule your leagues.